Brooklyn. You and I are from the same neighborhood, Jane.
Williamsburg. Yeah.
And
except you used to chase me. I used to run when I was little. Now it's my turn.
You're from?
I'm from Manhattan, all the way uptown, Inwood. Some people don't know about Inwood. It's like right before Riverdale, 211th Street, Broadway.
You know, some people with Inwood know about it.
Oh, no. It's like Outwood, only backwards.
And the two new members.
I'm actually from Connecticut, born in Connecticut. Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Yeah, but Vinnie's heart lies in Brooklyn. They can't be Italian and talk like this. And I'm lucky. And now I'm from Connecticut. Man, Brooklyn, hey.
Me there, got one in Brooklyn.
Yeah, I'm a Brooklyn guy. I was born in Brooklyn, raised in Brooklyn, East New York, which, as you may know, is a very tough neighborhood. That's why I'm here. So,
backtrack a little bit. Where was the very, very first show that you put on?
First show we put on in our living rooms when we were little kids for our parents and our uncle.
Right. I used to, go next door and lip sync, mimic records.
Professionally.
I think a little place in Queens called Coventry. It was on Queens Boulevard. We didn't want to get lumped in with all the New York bands, all the glitter bands, so we went looking for our own club. So our first show was for the bartender in a bar. Nobody else showed up.
With the makeup?
Yeah, Kiss has always looked just like, Kiss
from day one
together.
Yeah.
Basically, there's tapes of us playing a club on Long Island, and we would do all the songs that were on the first and second album. That's never really changed.
The very first reaction to where people started coming in droves, so to speak, to see what you were all about, what was that kind of reaction?
I remember getting up on stage in Long Island. This was in Amityville, I suppose a couple blocks from where that ghost house was. And people are drinking. I remember just putting our guitars down in one of the sections of the song and running out into the audience and making people put their drinks down and forcing them to clap their hands. Once, there was a pregnant girl in the front of the little club, and I sat on her lap, and she wasn't quite there. Apparently, anyway, it wasn't a nice thing to do. I think the baby's okay now, but there was a point there. And, but when we first walked in, the security guy there, the big guy, was going to knock us out. We were really scared of it. We'd lock ourselves in the dressing room, putting on our makeup, and we'd be answering the phone. People would call up and say, well, who's playing their title? We'd say, the best band you ever saw, Kiss. They wear makeup. They do all kinds of strange things. People love them.
The bouncer, they hide from the bag.
And the club owners had no idea what we were doing. We refused to do any Rolling Stones or cover songs or anything. And he complained the first weekend. Second weekend, it sold out. And
then he really used to get pissed because a bar does its business on liquor. And we were so loud that they couldn't hear anybody ordering drinks. But what happened over a period of a week or two is we were doing such a big business at the door that they didn't care, and it didn't really matter.
So the bouncer would be so anxious for the show that he'd come and knock on the door. Come on out, you guys. Come on out now, And that sounds like John. That security guy, I was thinking it's John Hart. Sounds just like that.
There's an interesting story about how you got the record companies to come and see you. The story along with the Brats. Tell our viewers about that's interesting.
We would rent our own concert hall. This was at the Diplomat Hotel, 43rd and 6th. Still there, I think. They haven't torn it down yet.
Home of
still there.
Yeah, home of reasonably priced prostitutes.
And we put on our own concert. We rented the hall, took the ads out of the newspaper, and actually had little contracts with the opening acts. But we were the opening acts. The Brats at that point were a more popular bass band. And we invited everybody to come, the record industry to come and see us. And we'd say in the invitation, complimentary ticket, showtime, 9:30. And of course, they'd come and see us, and by the time we were off, they'd leave. And the headline act, the Brats, would come on at 11 o'clock, and by that time...
Did they know that this was going on, meaning the Brats?
No,
probably not.
I think, probably what set us apart from a lot of the other bands is that we were kind of thinking along those kind of lines. It wasn't really enough to just get out and play.
We were serious about this. We wanted this to happen.
So you were going to pull out all the stops to try and do something. If we can, once Kiss has been successful, let's get into some negatives that I know you came across. How did you deal with them as far as the parents were concerned? Because I'm sure when they saw their children bring home an album and say, what is that?
We never... Well, I guess
Did you have any confrontations with parents?
No, I think we kind of took it as a compliment because we never really wanted to appeal to parents. I mean, trouble with a lot of parents is they forget they were ever young. And we were never trying to be a critics band, and we were never trying to be the band that the parents approved of, because that's not what rock and roll is all about. Rock and roll is sex and freedom, three things that a lot of adults fear, I guess.
That in the beginning, though, it is true that we would go out and open for acts from all the way from Savoy Brown to Manfred Mann, acts that were sort of on their last legs anyway. And we'd catch a lot of flack from, Roberta would call up and say, hey, we get a little flack, you get it? But it wouldn't matter because even before our record came out, we would tour with these acts, and we'd have our logo on the stage and amps bigger than the headline act. And even once we went off the stage, our logo would be hanging above, the stage. This was before anybody ever really started to do that sort of stuff. It wasn't considered in vogue to hang a sort of a Las Vegas sign above the band. It was a little too gauche, but we didn't care about that stuff. We wanted to make an impression, and the logo would flash so bright that even when the other act was on, you'd still see Kiss in front of your eyes. It was warm and them.
Yeah, where was your first big hall that you played?
But that's it.
Carr.
That was Eileen. Don't you remember Eileen?
Carr. I'm sorry. Let's go back again. Where was the first big hall that you played when you had, if you have to label it, success?
Well, it depends on what you consider success. To us in the beginning, success was being fourth on the bill playing the Palladium in New York, which is 3,800 seats. So to us, that was pretty big. We went from 1 week playing a club in Queens. 10 days later, we were playing there. And I was a chubette at that time, and I was wearing satin pants that broke.
You were a chubette?
Yeah. I had a fondness for things that tended to put weight on me, so I had these satin pants on, and I jumped up in the air, and they broke. And I had to hold the guitar in front of me all night to keep the pants from falling down.
There's almost nothing that was uneventful in anything we did. The very first show we did at the Academy of Music, New Year's Eve, 73, 74, was the very first time I tried to fire breathe in front of an audience, in front of a large audience anyway. And all I remember was that at one point the audience went nuts. And then somebody came up and put a towel, I think, over my head. I just thought it was a fad.
and a case.
And I didn't realize it at that time, but the right side of my hair caught fire. And everybody thought, yeah, that's a great show. You're going to kill yourself for us, huh? Go ahead.
How much preparation goes into one of your concerts?
Usually. The age usually leads to the preparation.
Yeah. It takes a long time. I mean, while we were working on Creatures, the latest album, Creatures of the Night, we were also at the same time working on the stage design and putting a crew together. It took months and months. I mean, really every day. I'd say we were in the studio probably 14 or 20 hours a day, in addition to running to see that the stage looked right. We had a lot of work.
You have a success, 4 guys in a band, and one guy decides to leave.
Because one guy decides to change his lifestyle, pretty much. And
what goes through your mind now? You're successful, very successful now at this point. How do you go about replacing it, or do you replace it? Or
even before that, you have to make certain priorities. You have to decide whether or not this is worth doing without the guy, whether or not your happiness depends on somebody else. And, while we're together, my happiness really is dependent on everybody else being happy. But if, look, what happened was Peter decided he wanted to get married and have a child. And that's what he wanted. He wanted to stay home and raise a baby. And at that point, in 79, we had to make a decision. And Kiss is more important than any one guy deciding that he wanted to change his lifestyle.
I think it was rough at first, only because when 4 guys have been through so much together, basically, we met basically in the street. We would go around at night and glue the posters up, and then we would drive the equipment to the show and be our own roadies, and we all had this dream. I can remember Thanksgiving was turkey sandwiches in an unheated loft, so
that's the part of the business that a lot of people, I don't really think they accept. They think they see you now, they see where you are, they don't see the dues being paid.
Well, everybody is an overnight success. because people don't realize that anything was happening before they became aware of you. I mean, all that time is obviously not recorded, and there's no stories about those kind of times. So when Peter decided to leave, we really had to sit down and say, well, does the band come first, or do we suddenly break up because somebody wants to leave? Well, the band is really much more important than any of its members. And I think the whole philosophy is that the band is an attitude and a way of life and a philosophy, and that's really the most important thing, not who's in the band.
All right, well, now you have to replace somebody.
And, you know, I had already intended to leave the band, but at the time I had no other prospects musically, which was like the first time in 15 years that I didn't have another band to go to.
Temptation guy, remember?
Well, yeah, I was should I say it? I can say that. I was repairing gas ranges in the daytime. And, you know, I was doing that so I'd have enough money to go to work.
Play that again out.
Okay.
You were doing...
While I was playing in the band right before Kiss.
Working for the gas company?
Not for the gas company, but I was repairing gas ranges during the days.
He's a gas.
Yeah, I'm a gas. So anytime you guys need your stoves fixed, call on me. Anyway, but, you know, he said, you should audition for Kiss. And at first I thought he was full of it. You know, I didn't believe it. But he said, no, Peter's leaving the band and they're looking for a drummer.
And Peter's stove is broken.
Right, Peter's stove is broken. Well, the worst that can happen is that, you know, you don't make the band, but you can fix the stove.
Space Bear. And I mean, how many people auditioned for that?
I'm sorry.
There were hundreds that came into the office. I mean, cassettes, pictures, bio information, and out of that we settled on 30. And then we had callbacks. There were something like 7 or 10 callbacks out of the 30 that auditioned. And some of the guys, in fact, that we auditioned later went on to be members of bands like Rainbow and other bands. And Eric was called back twice, I think.
I'm a little hard of hearing, and as I was walking out, they had to call me back twice.
And he became a member as soon as he said, "Can I have your autograph, you guys?"
He asked for our autograph.
Yeah.
And we didn't quite tell him he was in the band, but what we did is we started rehearsing with him. And one day we said to him, in 2 weeks we're playing, and you better have your stuff together. You know, so 2 weeks later we did a show. We did our first show.
Shock at that point, I would assume.
Oh, yeah.
Well, right from there, we went on a massive European tour and outdoor shows.
So what's happened? All of years. What happens at an audition? Still, I was on an audition.
So this is the only story I know. You know, and for Eric, this is the moment. Well, Eric,
I would tell you what goes on. What goes on in an audition? What do you have to do?
Me personally, or just
right.
Well, I was given a list of songs to learn in the event that I was going to be auditioned, you know, for the band, and it was 5 songs. And I went home and I practiced them, you know, for a few days over and over and over again until I had them backwards and forwards. And I think with the whole situation with Kiss, mentally, I was always here. I mean, I had wanted to be on this level. I never really, you know, expected that I would get into Kiss, you know, but I was hoping to get to this level. So when I went into audition, you know, I just said to myself, look, Eric, you're going to do the best you can. You know, you're going to play. You know you're good, you know the songs, and that's all you can do.
Now, do you play with them, or are they just sitting watching you?
Oh, no, I auditioned with the band. Played. Yeah, we
stage.
Yeah. I mean, they're always watching, you know, anyway. But we just played together as a band, you know.
And then we stayed off stage, and he does a solo by himself. We say, when we stop, you're on your own.
Yeah. Also, he had to sing. We said, learn these songs and be able to sing all of them. Also, learn the low harmony or learn the high harmony. It was tough. I mean, you had to come in and be a member of the band.
That's got to be a frightening experience the day of when you're going there. I mean, you've got to be nervous.
Yeah, I was very tense, to say the least, you know. I mean, this was like something I never expected to even be called for an audition. But, you know, when it happened, I just had a feeling deep down inside that I was going to get it. And I think that really...
boy, did I get it.
He actually was very good about the audition and everything. We thought he handled himself well until we found a little puddle in the back of the drums.
We had one guy who tried out for the band who literally was hyperventilating. You know, he was behind the kid in front. He was behind the kid, just give me a minute. Just give me a minute. I'm okay. And you got to figure if this guy is like this now, and it's just the band, you really have to worry because you got to figure that if the guy's really nervous now, what's going to happen when he's got to play for 20,000 people? So that's like a consideration. If the nervousness destroys your ability to play, it's only going to be worse when you play in front of a lot of people. So those kind of people were eliminated.
How long does that process take?
Well, most of the people were eliminated immediately, and they were told that they were contenders.
Okay.
Explanation about Ace is Ace really didn't decide to leave at all. Ace happened to have been in a big car accident in April, and
how's he doing?
He's fine, as long as it doesn't run around and lead a rock and roll lifestyle. No.
Ace and rock and roll are synonymous.
And his car was totaled. He doesn't have a Porsche anymore. He's lucky to be alive, and we were all really concerned. And we recorded the album and tried to make sure that Ace was involved as much as he could be while he was recovering, and in fact took a promotional trip to Europe together. Ace went on that ride, and you could tell that the strain was just too much. And then we had to make a decision: are we going to sit still again and not be Kiss, or are we going to try to sort of wait it out? We decided to go ahead.
I think at that point, what we were worried about was not does the band continue, but do we sit around and wait, or do we go out and tour? We hadn't toured in 3 years, and past a certain point, you either call it a day or you start touring. For a band like Kiss, the most important thing is to be there with the public. And with a new album, it was really important that we go out and...
Vinnie, explain how you got into Kiss now.
Explain the biggest thing to happen in somebody's life in 2 words. You guys are beautiful. It's amazing. It's an amazing story of fate being twisted.
Yeah, you and I met
in every possible way that fate could be twisted. That's the given story of how I'm here today with you.
How did you meet with Gene?
Gene was riding with a friend of mine, a mutual friend. Who may not be my friend anymore. As of hearing the final word today, we were both riding with the same guy, and Gene was over there one day, and I happened to come over, and I really wanted to meet Gene, and sort of on the sly, I said, Gene, here's my telephone number, and if you ever get a chance, give me a call. And only today did I find out I have no longer the same friend that he does.
Maybe.
Actually, he might be annoyed because he sort of went through the back door to get into...
It's one of those difficult situations because you really... You don't know if you're ever going to see this person again. And it's sort of that last...
It was like both
that last move, like, here's my phone number, and hopefully nobody else will. But anyway, from there, we just hit it off as friends, and
we started writing it on. I didn't want to say that. We started writing songs is what happened.
We started writing songs, and we realized we had the same influences, and we liked the same people, and same groups, same players, same guitarists. And it just, one thing led to another as far as writing. So we started writing more, and let's see, from there I met Paul.
Well, then we were involved in working on the record, and at some point at the end of the record we realized that Ace wasn't going to be with us, so we then auditioned guitar players from all over America.
And Vinnie had played on the record.
Yeah.
Vinnie co-wrote 3 of the songs on the album and played some of the solos, but we kind of, put Vinnie to the side.
So what you went through with Eric now, you had to go through it again with your auditions.
Yeah.
I think it was worse.
Yeah.
I think it was much worse.
Yeah.
We were literally flying in people every day from all around the country and at the same time working on the album. So what we would do is probably put in about 15 hours a day in the studio, go home, sleep a little, get up in the morning, go audition guitar players, and then go back to work.
Almost every guy that walked in through the door was convinced that he was a star. And that's okay, to sort of have that as a part of your ego makeup. And makeup, as you know, is very important. But these guys would come in with, the biggest attitudes. Okay, you guys ready? Come on, let's go, let's play. All this sort of...
See, that kind of attitude I can't understand, because you'd think somebody would go in there like a lamb and be scared to death because he's joining Kiss, you're not joining him.
Some people get the feeling that they're going to meet you on your level, but I mean, that's not the way we are. So it's kind of weird because if you figure somebody's like that when they're just auditioning, it's kind of like Pandora's box. That's your cue. You know Pandora. It's I mean, it's like opening a can of worms. If somebody's like that when you're auditioning them, once they're in the band, they're only going to be that much worse.
Yeah. You have an attitude about your shows that's good to hear, to pass along to viewers, that you love to give 100% and never less than that when you're on stage, even in your recording, but especially on stage, because that's, I would think, more grueling going from city to city to city.
It's not as grueling as people think. I mean, physically it is, but right before you get up on stage, you hear 20,000 or 50,000 or 10,000, whatever the amount of people, you hear people screaming, yelling, "Kiss, kiss, kiss," or, they call out various members' names, and it gets you up. It's like, I'm sure the same thing goes through a boxer's mind before he gets into the ring. He's trained his butt off, for 3 months, and I'm sure he's exhausted. Every muscle aches, but right before you get in, then you get that surge of adrenaline, and you're ready to go.
To do this, I mean, you figure that these people are seeing you for the first time. In other words, they weren't at the show the night before. So for you to lay back because you're tired or because you did the same songs the night before, it's really not fair to your fans or your audience. I mean, they're hearing that show and they're owed 100% every time. Otherwise, you should stay home. I mean, if you're not going to give that every night, then you shouldn't go out on tour. It's part of the reason we didn't go out on tour, because until we were sure that we were going to go out there and commit ourselves to doing it, there was no sense to do it halfway.
Because doing it together as Kiss, just about 10 years, right?
It is 10 years.
Yeah. 73, 74 now.
Yeah.
There are a lot of entertainers, performers, 4 or 5 years come, and they're very successful. And you go out and see them now, and they're just not putting it. You can see it. They can give a vibe to an audience that they're not giving 100%.
Some of the best shows we've done in the past 10 years are the most recent ones that we've done. We got the best stage. I mean, every year or every year and a half, we put out a new sort of stage, completely rebuild a stage with new outfits and new everything. We've got the best stage we've ever had.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit. There's a brand new setup you have.
Everybody really sort of misunderstands what it's like. To say that it's a tank, people normally think, well, you've got a tank on stage, but that's not it. The entire stage is the tank. It's designed to look like a tank, 60 feet wide, with treads that go from the front of the stage all the way to the back, with a gun turret that's in proportion to the stage, where the drums sit on top of, and this thing does everything but talk. It moves, it fires. We've got a guy who works for the Army who simulates what tanks do in war games, and this thing blows up the sound system.
And that's a tankless job.
And that's all in one song. Where did you get that idea about that?
It happened very naturally. We started designing the new show. You sort of throw ideas around. I had an old idea for the drum riser, just the drum riser being a sort of like a tractor, like a little tank, like a World War I tank, and that was sort of thrown aside. But then it naturally happened. We got involved with some very creative people, and the best. And everybody, the funny thing is, first we see the end product because we know exactly what it's going to look like, and then you get involved with craftsmen. These guys that put together metal and solder things, and then all of a sudden they get involved. And we asked them, well, why didn't you show us the material that you were going to show us today? Because I knew I could get a bit of thing and it'll last long. They sort of get involved with it, and they're proud. Once it goes up, our old crew is as proud every time there's a great show as we are, because, they've done something.
Well, they're part of the show, too.
Oh, yeah. They always try to come out and take bows, and we're always pushing them off the side.
We're on the subject of concerts. The ticket prices just seem to be going higher and higher and higher. What's your feelings on that for people who want to come and see you, but maybe getting that 10, 12, I'm throwing a number at prices. Getting it together is hard because of the economy today. What's your feeling on that? Because the promoters are asking for more and more money.
Well, you got to figure that money's tight nowadays. Would you rather eat hamburgers every day or have one good steak? If you want steak, you should come see us. You know, don't. I mean, if you got to save your money, save it for it. I mean, there's only one Kiss, and there's a lot of bands now that may wish they were Kiss, but you can't be Kiss better than we are.
We're also lucky, I think, that we've been doing something we're committed to doing what it is that we do, and it's not, times are bad. You don't just decide to go out with little laughs. We've got times be damned. We're going out with the best show in the world.
Who do you listen to when you're not performing? Start there with Eric.
A lot of Led Zeppelin, which is basically my favorite band. Police and Cars, Men at Work. I mean, it varies. I have a lot of different tastes. Neil Young is one of my favorites.
Okay.
I usually like Women at Work, or just plain women. Work, play, women at play. I like it. I like that too. I usually like newer bands. This usually happens during a show. It was over and pops me one.
That's because you're pop. Wake up, dude.
Usually new bands. I mean, I love the Jeff Beck group, the first one. Truth and Beck Oler were, in my estimation, some of the best rock albums. But I like a lot of the new bands. I like Stray Cats. When we took out a lot of the new bands that we got excited with at the time. I didn't say that well, but I know what I mean. AC/DC and Cheap Trick and Styx and Judas Priest and Iron Maiden and Scorpions, just on and on.
We have to just stop for a second when you said women. As an old Brooklyn buddy, I'll have to ask you now. You were teamed up with Diana Ross for a while?
Now it's Eric.
What? What kind of lady is Diana?
Well, Judas Priest was a very good opening act when they first came out. And, the thing about, I'll tell you what it is about us that, it's really hard doing what it is that we're doing, not in the sense that it's hard to tour and physically do it, but, we try to really make we try to distinguish between being Kiss on stage and putting on the best shows in our estimation and who we are in our private lives. And that goes to also not being photographed. So you're talking about my private life.
And you have a right to your private life, which I think a lot of people don't want to accept. Well, and that is wrong. I mean, for anybody to dabble in it, but when it comes out in papers and trade papers and newspapers and two people are pitted together, I believe there's a fine line that you should stop at. But when you know that there's a couple together, I think that's just, people will just automatically ask you.
I don't mind questions at all, but it's okay if I don't answer because it's my life and I'll do what I want.
It's I mean, we do that for two reasons. We do that for our own sanity. I mean, when you give as much to the audience as we try to give, and when you're in the public eye, it's real important that you have something that's private. Because if you give that away, then the public has everything. So, and plus, it doesn't have any relevance to Kiss. Kiss is such a strong entity that to have a picture of us eating lasagna, or going for a walk, it just dilutes what Kiss is all about. Plus, our private lives are private, and they're valued.
But the media today wants to get past that. But they might be wrong,
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think curiosity is great. It's up to us to determine how far we let on or how much we choose to let people know. There's nothing wrong with questions.
How do you battle that as far as people trying to get in and will do almost anything to get into your personal lives?
They do it. And, you try to control it where you can and where you can't. Also, our fans get pissed. Can we say that word?
Sure.
They get furious with us when they think that we're not being Kiss. Sometimes newspapers take polls. Do you want to see Kiss without their makeup? No, because the mystique and the legend is really important to them. Much more important than us eating lasagna and Reddit.
It's hard to be Kiss 24 hours a day. And would you want to be Kiss 24 hours?
We are Kiss, but we're not. I mean, you take it to the extreme at a point like this or when we're on stage. I don't think Kiss is an act. Kiss is us. It's something that comes from inside of us. But to to do this, I wouldn't want to do this 24 hours a day. And what I do off stage, what I do in my private time, that's what you got, that's what you got shades on the windows for, pull them down.
I'll get back to the original question. I thank you anyway for answering that.
Pleasure.
I appreciate it. What music do you listen to, Paul?
I don't listen to a lot of music. It's not a lot of stuff.
What do you do in your spare time when you're not together, touring, recording?
Stay with friends, go out, stay out all night. Yeah, have a good time.
Vinnie?
I listen to a lot of Zepp, a lot of early Zeppelin records and Beatles. I still enjoy listening to them a lot. Jeff Beck is one of my all-time favorite guitar players. Eddie Van Halen. I'm always listening to guitar players. That's how I spend my time.
Let's move up. That was rather boring. 25 years from now. No, it's not at all. But let's move up the road 25 years.
This is good. You good?
Feel good. Yeah. I answer this. It's a question just popped into my head. Your grandkids are going to come along one day. They're going to look at some of your album covers. Because I'm just looking at what we look at now, acts and what happened in the 50s as far as music was concerned. Now we're into the 80s. By the year 2000, if your grandkids come along and they say, well, this is my grandfather. That'd be a little freaky for you when you're sitting in a rocking chair.
I think we're going to be right in time. Those guys I think they're all going to dress like this. Why, you don't think they're going to walk around looking like this?
I think they're great. I think we've made our mark, which is a lot more than most people can say. I've seen history books, music history, the history of rock and roll. You open it up and the inside cover is Kiss. We really stated what the state of the art was for rock and roll. No more blue jeans sitting on a stool on stage looking like you just got out of bed. We took it to the extreme, and now the audience doesn't take less. I mean, that's why bands are out now with outfits and with bombs and with signs and with presentation. I'm real proud of what we've done, and I want my grandkids to see pictures of me in tights.
How long does it take to prepare for a show with your outfits and makeup?
It takes an hour of actually putting everything on. But before then, all afternoon and all day, we're talking about the show. We take notes, we write.
We draw pictures.
We take notes, have meetings with the light guys, with the sound guys.
We walk off stage at the end of the show. And so help me, as we're walking towards the limousines, we're going, well, the lights got to change in this song. Why don't we take this song and switch it with that song? The show is the most important thing we do. And giving the audience 100% is the most important thing also. That's why when we took time off, when we would go to other group shows, their fans come over and say, when are you going out on tour? Because there really is only one Kiss.
We were talking before in the dressing room about, especially with Gene, with the weight. That outfit, I would assume, gets heavy once in a while. And
this is one of the lighter outfits I've had. This is about 40 pounds. The older outfits used to be about 60, and I was barely moving. But you forget it. You forget all that stuff when you're out on stage. Everybody forgets, first of all, that whatever running around we do, whatever jumps in the air, especially Paul does, are being done on 8-inch heels. Here, lift one for a second. You're running around and doing jumps and splits, not in sneakers, and with additional weight and leather and tight stuff. And, we're proud of that. It's, okay, so you're Pete Townsend, so what? Jump in these.
Where is Kiss right now musically?
I think we're kind of at a real exciting point because I think it took a little time for us to decide exactly what we wanted to do and who we are. And for a while, we may have been listening to people around us who were telling us what they thought we should be doing. Maybe we were listening a little too carefully instead of listening to what we thought we should be doing. And I guess at this point, that's why we're going out for 100 cities. And that's why we did Creatures of the Night, basically to do what we do best, which is hard-ass rock and roll.
Oh, you're on tour right now?
Yeah.
That started a few weeks ago?
No, we just flew in from places. Glens Falls. I think it's Glens Falls, New York. Someplace like that. And this is a 100-city tour lasting 6 months. That's going to take us to cities we haven't been in
In 3 years.
In 3 years. Some of the cities we went around the first time in 74. So it's going to be almost 10 years since some of these cities have seen us.
KISS is a success. There's no doubt about that. A lot of people are in a stage of their career now where you once were. If you had to give advice to a group, what advice would you give them?
I think about the only advice you can give to anybody is not to listen to anybody else. When we first started out in 73, 72, glitter was dead. Everybody was wearing jeans and playing blues. Blues was really big. And everybody was saying, well, look, let's put a band together, put a rock and roll band together, but don't do all this other stuff. We said, yeah, but we like it. We want to put together the kind of band we've never seen on stage. Not just effects, but outfits and makeup and songs that relate to us, and a complete package with logos and just all that stuff. And it was not a popular move. Everybody from press people would come by and say, look, you guys are very good, but come on with this stuff. How long are you going to do this? It's 10 years later. Some of those guys no longer work in newspapers, and we're still here.
It's interesting, probably, when the first album came out, there were reviews that said, this will be a good joke for 3 months. I don't think anybody's laughing anymore.
That has to be a great feeling.
Well, it's great to know that you were right. The most important thing to anybody, I think, advice from bands or anybody, is you got to believe in yourself. Because people that are putting you down are only doing it because of their own insecurities. They don't want you to succeed where they failed.
Well, it seems like thousands of people believe in KISS. So for Vinnie, Paul, Gene, Eric, I thank you for coming tonight, Flight.
Thank you, Al.
Well, and don't be careful when you go back to the neighborhood now. Oh, by the way, do you ever go back to the neighborhood?
I do, but I don't have to worry anymore. You know why? Look.
What the beauty. Then I found, oh, yeah. Because I unplugged microphones.
Bye. That was the mic. Thank you.
Yeah.
See you in your town.
In your dreams.
We're all saying that together? I thought we were just going to leave.
Who's that, Lisa?
Look. I'm being serious. Are you going to do it, or are we all doing it? What do we do? Are we all doing it?
You do it. Yeah, and then we'll join in and make buffoons of you.
Buffoonery. Which camera?
Guys, take off the makeup. But Lisa, we think it's important. Guys, take it off.
Okay, which camera are we on?
Right, here we go.
Hi, we're KISS.
This is my tongue. Available for bar mitzvahs, weddings. Anyway, Cruises of the Night
Flight on the
USA Cable Network.
That's an order.
Fablonget.
Flight.
Here we go.
Hi, we're KISS.
That's right. And we fly first class on Night Flight on the USA Cable Network. All right, way to go.
Okay.
Hi, we're KISS. And we fly first class on Night Flight on the USA Cable Network. Watch. Hi, we're KISS. And we fly first class on Night Flight on the USA Cable Network. Watch it.
Rock on.
Or else. That's it. Okay. Watch for us on Radio 1990 on the USA Cable Network. Thanks.
Right. It was good. It was good.
And 1990 is coming sooner than you think. Watch for us on 1990 on the USA Cable Network.
1, 2, 3.
We're here. And 1990 is coming sooner than you think. Watch for us on Radio 1990 on the USA Cable Network. Right?
Right. Coming to at least once.
Cereal.